He hit me up one day and was like, Joe, listen, I got a song. I have an idea for a song about Lahme. I'm coming over. I'm 17 at the time, in high school.
I have
I'm
an
like,
idea about Lahme. A song about
I'm like, all right, pull up.
Welcome to another episode of the Quartertones podcast. My name is Mikey Mhenna. Today with me is musician, producer, music aficionado extraordinaire. Thanks, Joey, who is burning sage, getting ready for this episode. It is a long time coming. Thanks, Joey. Welcome to
Thank you, man. I'm
Quartertones.
so happy to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Man, it is a long time coming. So this is exciting because this episode is the first time that we're going to be doing a bunch of kind of like live performances from a production standpoint. And so I'm super excited about it. But for the people who are unfamiliar with your work and you meet them for the first time, how do you introduce yourself? What do you say that you do, or how do you describe your work to somebody who is just new to your work entirely?
Great question. Yeah, I usually just say I'm a music producer. And if people know what a music producer is, they can usually ask, oh, cool, what kind of music? I mean, that's typically what people would say anyways. But I mean, sometimes very far and few in between, I'd meet some people that don't know what a music producer is. And I have to go into the whole technical aspect. This is what goes into making a song, you know? But yeah, music producer, you know, for myself and others.
Yeah. You come from a musical family.
Yeah.
What is your sort of connection with music? What was your connection with music growing up? What kind of music was played around the house? Where did you grow up?
Yeah.
What was the musical landscape you grew up in?
I was born in Brooklyn, New York, Bay Ridge, which at the time was it was a mixed neighborhood, but there was a lot of Arab people that were living, a lot of Palestinian, Lebanese, Syrian. And so my grandfather, Yusuf Kassab, came to Brooklyn in the late 60s, and he settled in Bay Ridge. And he's a master oud musician and singer, and he plays the classics, you know, Abdul Wahab, all of the greats, all of the Kulthum stuff, the classics, as you said.
Yeah. Where did he come from? Where did he learn?
Yeah, he went to school at the Sham, where he was, you know, born and raised, and learned that he came from a musical family. So his uncle would play music, and they would play on the radio, the Sham. And so, you know, I have a distinct memory, him telling me his earliest memories about him going and seeing Kulthum live. And, you know, yeah,
No way.
so that's something that like shaped him when he must have been really young, in his teens maybe. And that really is just like, I mean, just to hear the emotion behind, how he felt just going to it, you know, I think really shaped him and drove him more into music than he had already been at the time. So yeah, I grew up listening to, you know, between Feiruz and Led Zeppelin, man. My dad, came here from Damascus too, but he was much younger. He was 17. And when he got here in 77, he was, you know, he was a Rolling Stone, man. He was listening to Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and all of the classics of rock.
Yeah.
So, you know, my mom would play Feiruz, and Kulthum would make me cry as a child. And my dad would play Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue, and that would put me to sleep. And so that was...
Wait, so...
Those were the two opposing forces that I grew up with.
Those are the two. It's so funny. What is it about Pink Floyd and Arab dads of a certain generation?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about Pink Floyd specifically, that like taps into this like anti-authoritarianism.
We don't
That must
need
have
no
been true.
education, man. Shout out to Roger Waters, man. He's the only one that's out here campaigning for us. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
you know, I inherited a lot of my dad's records, and you know, it's all that stuff, which is great. I love it.
And when did hip hop start to become part of your like
Hip hop
bloodstream?
it was early on. I was in elementary school, you know, and growing up in New York, it's everywhere, you know. So
Yeah.
my earliest memory of really consuming hip hop was going to my uncle's. He was living at my grandma's house, my uncle George, and he was living at my my teta's crib in Brooklyn. And so we would go over there and visit, and I'd go to his room, and he was the youngest out of, you know, 8 siblings. So he was kind of like, he was cool. You know, he grew up in Brooklyn. And so he would just play the Locks and Jay-Z and, you know, Wu-Tang. I can't remember. I just remember listening to like a lot of Jay-Z, Biggie. That's what it was. He was playing Biggie nonstop. And so my love for Brooklyn music specifically, like Biggie, Jay-Z, was like, I felt so.
No nods
There's
allowed.
no Queens ever allowed. No, but it was
no LL Cool J.
it was
no
all
nods.
Brooklyn. Like, you know what I'm saying? That was, and especially because like I had moved from Brooklyn when I was 11. We moved down to Florida. And so part of my identity became like, oh, you know, I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn, you know? And so I would listen to these cats like Jay-Z, study them really, like Jay-Z, Biggie, Talib Kweli, Mos Def. You know what I'm saying? And then that became like my core. Cause when I moved to Florida at 11 years old, they were listening to they were listening to Southern, you know, US Southern music, which was like Cash Money Records or, you know, early T-Pain.
For sure.
So it was a completely different, no limit, of course. Yeah.
Stuff.
Third Coast, Texas stuff, Scarface and, UGK and stuff like that. And so we weren't listening to that type of stuff up in New York, really. And so that was a whole other influence on me. Yeah.
Yeah. When did you start thinking to yourself, I might do this for a living?
As a kid, I was always so torn about what I'm going to do in life, you know? So I was in band from 4th grade till through 8th grade. And I stopped when I got into high school because I didn't want to do marching band. And so I was a saxophone player, played sax and violin. And I remember thinking to myself when I was in high school, man, I really don't want to do anything else but music, but I don't want to play in a band or like an orchestra or anything like that. And the idea, you know, and I'm the oldest of 4 siblings, so I didn't have anybody else to look to ask these questions. You know, my parents are both immigrant. The only person in my family that's a musician was my jiddo, that's like, you know, super traditional and classical, and a musician, played live. And so I didn't want to do that. I have more of an introverted personality. And so I'm like, man, I don't want to be out here just playing in a band or an orchestra or anything like that. And the concept of music production didn't really hit until, I was in 10th grade, I was a sophomore in high school. And I heard Kanye West's Through the Wire. And I was like, man, that's a fire beat. I want to do that. And so that was 2002 to, you know, going into 2003. And so I downloaded Fruity Loops, which is now known as FL Studio, which is widely used. You know, it was Fruity Loops.
Yeah. Oh my God. I
Fruity
remember
Loops 3 at the time. So I downloaded it, and I was lucky enough to go to a school, Dr. Phillips High School, which is a magnet music school. So a lot of kids from around the state and country come to the school and study music. And so we had at the time a state of the art analog studio that a bunch of people used to record their first sessions. Like, I believe it was like NSYNC recorded their first record there or something. This is Orlando, right? So in that studio, there was a class called electronic music that was, being taught. And it was a small little room of about like 20, 25 stations of these really crappy old computers and really crappy old keyboards. And I caught wind of this somehow. Somebody had told me about it, and I was like, man, let me take these courses for my 11th and 12th grade year. And it was great. It taught us how to use the keyboard and make full songs in keyboards and then transfer them to digital, and which I was already kind of doing at home in Fruity Loops. But yeah, that's how I started. I started just remaking Kanye West beats and, downloading from Kazaa and LimeWire all of the, Motown songs, man. Because I was like, how do I make these records?
You like download a Motown song and then find out that there's a in the middle of the song.
Totally. Absolutely.
Do you remember that?
Almost all the time.
Yeah. What was it? The N like NPAA or whatever. And I like the anti
the piracy laws.
Anti-Napster, anti-piracy laws.
Totally.
Yeah, exactly. That, oh man, blast from the past. I remember I also downloaded Fruity Loops at the time. It was like all those little boxes.
All the sounds that you could use. Yeah. And so that's how I got my start, was just remaking, flipping up soul samples, remaking beats that I had liked, and just diving into that world. And I for me, man, looking back at it now, I'm like, man, that's what really got me into even like the history of it. I remember I was in 10th grade and I got close with my biology teacher, and she burned me a CD of a bunch of Motown records that she loved. And I remember going home and extracting all the songs, making beats out of them. And it was something about, the history, diving into the history of the music that I'm sampling and recontextualizing it, remaking it into something. So like, I would sample a song that would talk about love or something, and then, give it to my homie, Nico who I met when I was in 8th grade and started making music together in 10th grade, 10th grade together. He started rapping. Incredible. Probably my favorite rapper of all time. Brazilian American, raps in three languages, just been doing it for so long. I remember I'd give him these beats and, he'd make a song based on whatever the sample was. And I thought that was, that was incredible too. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Also, just a side note, like I used to be a teacher, and it's amazing the impact teachers can make just through giving music
100%.
to their kids.
I don't even think
like
you would even realize until years later. But I still remember.
Yeah.
Just that moment of her giving me that CD ever etched in my memory. I could never erase it.
Yeah. I can remember there's like 2 teachers, one in 11th grade and one in 7th grade for me. 7th grade, Miss Sava was like, hey, I have an extra copy of this CD. It's Erykah Badu, Baduism.
Come on.
I think you'll like it. And it blew my mind.
Wow.
And then Mr. Chen, either of whom may be listening to this, in 11th grade, gave me a copy of Keith Jarrett live in Sweden.
Yeah, that's a great record. Yeah.
Great record. And I've listened to that record probably more than any single, but besides like any single instrumental record. And it totally shaped the way I think about music.
Wow.
Both of them.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Badu, man. That's on the Badu record.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about some of these songs. So for somebody who's listening, who's unfamiliar with your work, and I think the best thing to do is jump into
Sure.
one of the tracks. What do you think is a good first track to listen to? Either one of the ones I have lined up, or if you want to play something from your side that you think is like a good primer.
Oh man. Jeez. Well, the songs that I wanted to play with you guys were probably some of my newer stuff. So if it's something that is,
let's start with
that's
newer
cool.
stuff. Yeah, that sounds good.
I mean, well, so I started making hip hop music, right? So most of my beats were hip hop beats, sampling, stuff from my heritage. So, and to be fair, Nico's heritage. So he's Brazilian. And so, you know, at 14 years old, he gives me a stack of CDs and says, sample this. And so I dived very early on into Brazilian music, bossa nova, MBP, just like, you know, everything that was coming out of Brazil in the 70s, 60s and 70s I was just eating up. And so a lot of my early beats, even until now, have been sampling Brazilian music. And of course,
like Astro Gilberto,
the best, Nathan Jobim, like that. These are things that are just, they shaped me as a person, you know. Bossa Nova is probably my favorite genre of all time. So, it was a mixture of, you know, sampling that stuff and then sampling Arabic music, of course. It was always something, you know, cultural, something ethnic, something that's not American. I didn't want to keep, you know, sampling the same stuff that people were sampling over here. I wanted to go outside and introduce sounds that we don't have in hip hop necessarily to hip hop, right? What's my contribution? You know, I want to have our music in what we're doing, right? So I guess some of my earlier stuff is Brazilian stuff, but where I'm at now is I've kind of gone back into my grandfather's catalog, and I bought up a bunch of his vinyl that he used to record and press in the 70s.
Do you have any sitting next to you? Yeah, sure.
I mean, come on. Bedouin Belly Dance? Composed and performed by Yusuf Kassab with the Salim Sarwe Orchestra, right? So, here he goes. Bam. Check that out.
How funny.
Great. So this was 76, I believe. Yeah. And so belly dance music, right? This was what was hot at the time. Super problematic, the cover and all of that. But
it's where we were.
It's where we were, right? So this is history. So, it's always something I wanted to do. I've done it before. I've done it many years ago. Me and Nico flipped one of those records. Let's see. We made a whole song and he shot a little video in Brazil. This was 2006. Please don't unearth it. Let it be hidden somewhere far depths of the interwebs.
It's a challenge.
But it exists somewhere. And so I always knew I wanted to go back and kind of bring that back. And so I found one of my good friends, Ibrahim Maali, found this record while digging in Chicago, and he sent it to me for my birthday one year. And, which I never had it. I had the cover. I just never had the actual vinyl. And so he sent it to me.
That's crazy.
I listened to it, and the first record is this song called Tari اللي بحبه طار. And I liked it so much that I had this idea to split these belly dance records into dance records. And so can I play you a
yeah,
little,
man. I can't wait.
So I chopped it up. I got the little, right, so the little condiments.
سهرني لطلوع الضو لما انصرف قلبي الجو قلبي باللاسلكي صارت تلفن ويحاكي الطيار
Amazing.
Of course, this is a slightly sped up version.
So before you play it, so for the people who are unfamiliar, okay, and especially for the people who are listening to the podcast, basically you take the vinyl, you digitize it, you download it onto your computer, basically, and then I
put it into this.
So you put it into this amazing thing. What is this thing that you're holding up? There's 16 pads on it. What is this thing called?
There's 16 pads. This thing is called the Machine, MASHIN, by Native Instruments. It's basically just a sampler. So there's many machines that exist like this. This one is digital. It works with software, but you're able to record anything you want into it, from vinyl to cassette tapes, anything audio, and then chop up whatever sounds that you want and assign them to these different pads. So, of course, the song exists as one long song. I have it so that I can just.
Amazing.
And do some cool things like that.
So the people who are listening who can't see the YouTube video, basically, thanks to always hitting these little pads on his sampler, and each one is queued up with all these different little segments of the full thing. Quite literally, these clips, these snippets.
Yeah, we call them sample chops.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So, how would you actually play that if you wanted to turn that into a beat that somebody would be like, oh, that's hip hop?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, what I made it into is, I don't even know if it would be called hip hop at this point. It's just more of a dance. You might even call it EDM. I mean, all of this stuff is rooted in hip hop, right? It all comes back to, and even hip hop is rooted in, African music, right? So
yeah.
To me, it all feels like that, but, of course, there's subgenres and subgenres, and so on and so forth. But for me, I guess the essence of what makes it hip hop is being able to take the sample and, build a beat around it. So the first thing that I did was I chopped those things. And I really, really love, I think there's something so whimsical and fun to this, it's talking about it flew away, my love flew away. Like I did, the car broke down. I wasn't able to catch up to him at the airport. My love's gone. And so I don't know, it's something to that I really loved. And what I first did was a bass line.
Yeah.
And then some keys, and then the drums just fell into place.
Amazing.
And it kind of just builds up that way. So I'll cue it up.
Yeah, do it. Yeah, go for it.
Very important. The kanun.
Man, it's crazy good.
Thank you, man.
It's funny. Go ahead.
Go ahead, please. No, after you.
I was going to say that's I can, now that I put the bossa nova connection, those chords are very, very Brazilian. You got underneath there.
So jazz. Yeah, totally. I mean, you can strip the keys. You can just make it a full on EDM, let's go crazy type record. But there's something to that, something to chords for me that just make it so much homier.
Yeah, there's a very Tribe Called Quest-y, bossa thing going on.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, amazing.
And I want it to be played everywhere. You know, I don't want it to just be like, you know, whether you're cruising or you're in a pub or wherever. I want feeling good is the most important thing. If music don't make you
100%.
feel good, what are we doing? You know?
What do you when you play this? What does your family think? Like the people who like remember the original version very well.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. I don't think I've never really showed it to very many people in my family. I haven't showed it to my jiddo yet.
What?
Yeah, I haven't. I should. I haven't seen him in a while, but I will show him. I want to just package it correct, like the right way before I.
Wait, why are you scared? Come on.
No, I'm not. It's not scared. I just want to. He's a very what's the word? I don't want to say traditional because that's a silly word to describe him as, but he likes his music a certain way.
He's a purist.
So I don't know. He's a purist, man, for sure, definitely. And so I'm curious, and it doesn't really like it's not gonna. It won't bother me or hurt me in any way if he doesn't like anything that I. But I want to present it to him in a way where it's like, here's the full-on package, right? Check this out. This is what you've inspired. And I just haven't gotten to that step yet. But I will.
I highly encourage you.
Thank you, man. I will. I'm actually going to be seeing him in New York when we do the little Syria show in July. I'm going to go stop by his crib, jack all of his vinyl and cassette tapes that he's been hoarding for years on end.
Man. Okay, cool, man. Let's keep the party going. So
yes, please.
What do you have next?
Okay. Let me see. One moment to pull this up. I have this record that I really love that I'm probably going to release first in July. All of these records, by the way, Mikey, you're getting, exclusive. I haven't released any of these. None of these are released. So you're getting the,
afikra community benefiting from these exclusives.
You know, gotta do it for the family.
Yeah.
This song is called, okay. I really love when we as, you know, immigrants or kids of immigrant, incorporate our native tongue in our music, in a really interesting way. So like for me and Omar's last album, Omar Offendum's last album, Lost in Translation, that was a kind of a theme where I would go through these old, Syrian comedy films, by, Dared Laham, who played,
yeah, of course,
character. If you don't know Ghawar, which I grew up watching, my parents grew up watching, and, you know, it was a, you know, part of my childhood coming up. But one of the main songs that stuck to me as a kid that I knew that one day I would absolutely, you know, sample. I didn't know for who, but I knew I was going to do it, was this song, Money, 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 Flus, Flus, Flus. And it's a silly song. You can look it up on YouTube. It's him riding on a donkey with, his friend Yasin playing the, you know, money, 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 flus, 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 kill al-alam, the way that he used English and Arabic to me was just like, first of all, it's hilarious. Second of all, it was just so dope. I was like, man, I want to find more of those gems. And there was a guy named Eddie Kochak that was he was born here. He was born in Brooklyn. And he was a musician in the 40s and 50s through, you know, up until, you know, rest in peace. He passed away a few years ago. But he played with my jiddo, and he brought my jiddo along, and they did like collab albums together. And he was a percussionist. And so he was already in the circuit in the 50s. He was playing with a lot of, other item musicians locally. And so when my jiddo and him linked up, they did a few albums together. One of the albums that I found of them together, there was this one little piece that I think Eddie, I think Majida was playing the oud and Eddie was doing the vocals. It was just like a Moab type record, nothing like crazy. It's just kind of freestyle improv, right? And, but one of the sounds is of Eddie saying this thing that I thought was incredible. He was like, he's talking to this girl and he's like, you closed sakati al-badai alay or something like that. You closed the shades on me. Like I'm trying to see you in your apartment and just like shutting me out. And he goes, I don't like it, ya Habibi. I don't like it, yeah. Which I thought was
no means no.
No means no. But he said, I mean, you know, I don't like it, you know. This is what I just imagined him doing, just a little, I don't like it. And so that little piece I turned into this, I mean, let's see what we got here for you. Okay. So. Do you remember? Do you remember, ya Habibi? So this sounds, you know, it's pitched down. So if I wanted to bring it back to the original. Do you remember, ya Habibi? Do you remember, ya Habibi? When I went by your house, ونزلت البرداي بوجهي لك ونزلت البرداي بوجهي لك why did you نزل البرداي بوجهي Why did you نزل البرداي بوجهي man?
سؤال مهم.
Why did you نزل البرداي بوجهي I don't like it يا حبيبي.
Pitch down.
I don't like it, ya Habibi. Do you remember?
You know, he's just vocal like, you know.
Yeah.
So between that and this. Turned into this. I don't like it, ya Habibi.
Thanks.
I don't like it, ya Habibi.
Killer.
String sample. We go crazy. Hey.
So good. Man, killer. Unreleased,
Mikey,
exclusive.
Thank you so much, because I don't get to do breakdowns like this for people, so it's really cool to be able to go through these again and kind of relive, remaking them.
So I want to talk about
share.
Yeah, for sure, man. I want to talk about the process a little bit. How long from the idea or from, okay, you're doing the crate digging, you find this idea, this moment, you find that little sample, right?
Yeah.
I don't like it, ya Habibi. You're like, ooh, idea.
Yeah.
How long until this, which you just showed me? Like how many days, how many months, how many hours, how many weeks?
Man, God, I wish I had. I wish I could count, man. I don't know. It's you go through revisions, you go through countless versions of them. I mean, at this to get to where it's at right now. I mean, I first made this beat in 2020. 2020 was when I first had this. I mean, granted, I haven't been working on it,
nonstop
all the time since 2020, but for it to get to where it's at took definitely a few revisions, countless mixes, making sure that it sounds good,
Yeah.
different arrangement, songs don't, the bulk of it got done. I'd say this one in particular, I probably knocked this out in like an hour.
Yeah.
The drum, the bass, the arrangement of the sample and all of that stuff. But in terms of like arrangement and mixes altogether, I think if I just put all the time together, I probably spent maybe like a week on it or so.
Okay.
But of course, over long periods of time.
It's so cool.
I
I want to play one of your finished tracks. So I'm going to share share a video. So I'm going to pull it up this time. And this is a track that you did with Narcy, friend of the program.
Yes. Yes.
So
Narcy. Oh, here we Young Narcy.
Exactly. So shout out to Narcy. Tell us a little bit about what this track was, what it is, so people can look it up, the name, and we'll play it in a second. Go ahead.
This one is very special. It's called Meta World Peace. One of my favorite records because I flipped the sample from the first Palestinian rock band to come out of Palestine. I think it was in the late 60s. And they were called El Bara'im, which translates roughly into the Blooms. And they were a family band, basically. And one of my good friends, Samahan Ashrawi, it was his father's band that he had started.
No way.
So he had he had all of these records, that hadn't been released other than just, I don't even know if they released it back in Palestine, onto, I don't even know how these recordings, I need to ask him actually. I don't know if they were pressed to vinyl or cassette or anything. I believe they might be on like tape when they were originally recorded, but I don't think they pressed them anywhere. And so Sam'an, back in, I think 2020 or 2021, I think it was 2020, started releasing them independently. And so you can go, to their Spotify or Tidal or YouTube or wherever you listen to music and check them out. I remember they first dropped a single called Tariq, and I heard it and I was like, man, this is incredible. I love this so much that I wanted to chop it. But before I chopped it, I had to ask Sam'an to get his blessing because I knew that once I chopped this, it's such a sacred record. I can feel it.
Yeah.
And when it's somebody's family, you have to go about it the right way. And so I asked him and he said, yeah, for sure. I actually chopped it first. I made the whole beat. I made a beat video and I sent it to him and I said, can I put this on my Instagram? And he said, he thanked me and was like, yo, thank you for letting me know and hitting me up first. He said, of course, let's go. And so I did the beat video. I put it up on my Instagram and then Narcy, in Narcy fashion hits me up when like, I need this beat. And so I was like, okay, cool. I'll send it to you. So I sent it to him. He ended up recording his verses, calling the song Meta World Peace. And, much later on, this is a song that took years to develop. Much later on, we're able to tap in with Quartertones.
Yeah. Amazing artist.
Who's an incredible artist, producer, Syrian cat, just based out of the Netherlands. I think he's in Amsterdam now. Super dope, man. Got him on the second verse, which was really, really dope. And was really able to break down the sample and use different parts of it, and create a whole world in this one song.
Amazing.
So,
all right, let's listen to it. Here we go.
Go.
ومن ترى wonder what a better world means when shit just hit the fan like meta world peace. I wonder what it feel like, free life. Wonder what it's real like, heavy do my feet tight, ready move on a green light. What I choose might be right, so don't talk to me awkwardly. These Saddam Hussein philosophies, fulfilling a prophecy. Invest in a property you should properly own. This ain't a movie, dog. Don't bring your props to me, no. Tell them demons to get off of me, go. I am known as a prose martyr, globe charter, even with closed borders. Whoa, when I slay a ad-lib, data at risk, player, that's it. Nothing greater than risk and risk. I've been in this shit 2002. Look at all the bullshit I go through. So-called beef like Beyond Meat, hard enough just to be on beat. Rap pandemonium, I slap the podium, I'm a standalone. You should keep your ass at home and keep your mask on like the Mandalorian. Better world means when shit just hit the fan like meta world peace. Ooh. Yeah, Layla, this is the day that she thought has won. It's been feeling like it's so lonely. وبالآخر خلقنا swap wishing hope could be grown on trees. راضي لحد ما جو كسول أمبا بوك ما تخوش لا خال مكسوس أمبا لذا كان الزحف يوم الزحف بس رقمي مسألة توقي فكروا هذه المي منبر اليوم خاف بالقوة يسترد بالقوة تنسد كل المداخل كل بندقية هو اليوم جاي والساعة بتدك البارح يطالب دق والساعة حدك كليك كليك أنا حالك وحالك حالي حالك قلبي حجر لكن لسه قلبي عند خلاني شركة وطلع من الحبس عبال باقي إخواتي We put you down كأنك قلبي سلاي motherfucker.
There will be no more messiness.
Wow.
Man.
Wow.
First of all,
what do you think, Mikey?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I think. First of all, the Kanye influence is dripping off this song.
100%. Totally.
Dripping. It is amazingly good.
Oh, man. Thank you.
But you were for sure tapped in.
Yeah, I'm telling you. 13 years old.
Yeah.
Been over 20 years.
Yeah. No, it's, yeah. Been this shit since 92. Look at all the bullshit I've been through. It's so funny. Yeah, this is amazing. Really special. Do you like passing on songs to artists and seeing what they do with them?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the time it's not even planned. It's just, I make a beat and someone will ask me for it or I'll play it. They'll just take it and make it into something completely, something I could never imagine. It's,
when Narcy hits you up, do you send him the stems or what do you do?
In the past, when we first started working together, yes, he was, getting everything mixed and all of that stuff. He is a producer in his own right. He produces all of his records. And so, he pulls together musicians and producers and fully orchestrates his albums. When we first started working together, that's how it was. During the pandemic, we started working more and more together, and I started mixing more of the records, and now it's more like he sends me all the stems and I mix everything and send it back, and he kind of just pulls together the album with other pieces. But I'm doing a majority of the mixing, a lot of the production. Yeah, that's where we're at now.
So cool, man. All right. I want to keep on going because I'm just having too much fun. Another friend of the program, Omar Offendum, who's come up a few times, is a rapper, a musician, and just generally creative, total sweetheart of a person.
Best.
How long have you guys known each other?
I met him in 2015 or 16, I believe, through Narcy. They were doing an event together in DC, and I happened to be there at the time. And so, yeah, that's how we first met. And then after that, it was kind of like a back and forth between us. We didn't get a chance to link up fully until 2018, 2019. He came to me with this idea for a project called Little Syria that we helping send.
So it's so funny. Like, I feel like somebody listening to this conversation and me might feel like you are like part of a scene and a community of these Arab American hip hop adjacent, hip hop creative people. And you guys all hang out in the barber shop together. And it's like this total community, right? You guys are all super close and constantly hitting each other up.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way? Or does it actually feel like you're lonely in your studio, in your bedroom, like second bedroom, working on your own and not part of a community?
It's a bit of both. I mean, the reality is just that I'm all alone here in LA. I moved out to LA when Omar was still living out here, and it was great because we were able to link up every week in person and make music. We created an entire album, Lost in Translation, that I mentioned before, together. And it was incredible. Then he moved to New York, and now I'm completely all alone with nobody around me. But no, it does. But at the same time, yes, it definitely feels like this, like all of my friends are, they're all musicians too. And so, we do have this tight knit, it feels like community on the internet, right? Or through our phone. Everyone's scattered around the world. But we're still always working, creating. I just got a text message from Narcy, a few minutes ago asking me to do another mix on his record. Shout out to Narcy. I've mixed this record 17,000 times, bro. But I will always, I will do one for, and 17,000 more if I have to get it right. But yeah, that's how we work, man.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, because my brothers, I love them.
I know that that balance of the connected and lonely,
Yeah, totally. It's we're like secluded, but which really it's. I have this conversation a lot. You move somewhere, you try to build community in person. It may take a while to build, but the fact that we have our phones and we can stay connected. I mean, the fact that we're doing this, given the distance between us, is really beautiful. So
yeah.
Very
cool. All right, let's play. This is Omarvelous. So this is also on YouTube. So anyone interested in looking it up, I'll get started.
Oh my God, Omar Offendum is here. Oh my God, watch out, here comes Offendum. Oh my God, Omar Offendum is here. Oh my God, nobody can offend him.
Oh, marvelously eloquent, more verses in my throat than fish can float inside of pelicans. Keep it kosher though, the key to my forever relevance. Timeless as the oceans flow, crossing the Bosphorus, feeling prosperous with a goat in tow. Spitfire skill for real, slow roast a kid in Kosovo. Regular upper bite, that's a tough guy, serving wise guys a slice of my humble pie in the form of a puffed eye and broken nose. Have you smiling for the camera with my cane around your neck? Hold the pose. Strictly poetry, hold the prose. From the Pyrenees to the Poconos, more range than the Grand Telescopio in Spain. The princes and the papas, newspapers and the Pope should know I am official, oh for sure. You catch that? I'm hoping so. Remember the name.
Omar Offendum is here. Oh my God, watch out, here comes Offendum. Oh my God, Omar Offendum is here. Oh my God, nobody can offend him. Offend him with my voice, offend him with my lyrics, offend him with my style, offend him with my spirit, offend him with my eloquence, offend him with my elegance, offend him with my sentiments, offend him with my merit. Ya Allah, Omar Offendum is here. Ya Allah, watch out, here comes Offendum. Ya Allah, Omar Offendum is here. Ya
I suppose this wasn't a day for open toes. I'm told of the kind of look in my eye that can leave a soulless
Wish
soul.
I could see it for myself.
But alas, how am I supposed to know? You prefer my oach? Well, I ask, how am I supposed to grow? Let it go, shout-outs to Joey though. More dynamic of a chamois duo, nobody is ever really going to know. Boy, no, lie, we flying higher places so below zero. Hashish won't grow, so we won't go. I leave a stage in better shape than I received it though. My people know.
Omar Offendum is here. Oh my God. Watch out, here comes Offendum. Oh my God. Omar Offendum is here. Oh my God. Nobody can
Do I offend them with my voice? Offend them with my lyrics? Offend them with my style? Offend them with my spirit? Offend them with my eloquence? Offend them with my elegance? Offend them with my sentiments? Offend them with my merit?
Ya Allah, Omar Offendum is here. Ya Allah, watch out, here comes Offendum. Ya Allah, Omar Offendum is here. Ya Allah, nobody can offend him.
I love it. Part of the funny thing here is that like Ahmad is like the least offensive. He's like the least offensive person. He's so unbelievably likable.
He is. But
I love it. If anyone's listening to this thinking to myself, oh, this sounds incredibly theatrical. Part of the reason why it sounds so theatrical is because it's part of a theater production, Little Syria.
yeah. Yes, absolutely.
What talk to me about what it was like to actually be part of that and have this sort of theatrical production in mind when you guys are putting together the music.
Sure. Yeah. It was, the idea, when Omar first came to me, I was like, well, we want to do this project based on, this, the first Arab American neighborhood, in America where the first Syrian, Palestinian, Lebanese people were settling on the Lower West Side of Manhattan, which I was already, deeply, into, and interested in, because I had already done a lot of this research when diving into my first instrumental album called On Beats, which was inspired by Khalid Gibran's Prophet. And so I was already diving into the pen league, and diving into, other, authors that were writing around the same time. And of course, diving into tons and tons of Gibran books, to create this instrumental album, right? And so he had come to me shortly after that and was like, I have this idea for Little Syria. And I was like, yeah, totally love Little Syria. Let's do it. And he pulled our other good brother, Ronnie Ma'ali, Chicago, incredible musician, producer, master oud player. And he brought us together to this little residency, this week-long residency at the University of Michigan. And we basically just we had this little Airbnb and sat in the back little room and got a couple speakers and brought this little guy with me and went through a bunch of old records that were recorded in these neighborhoods, like in Little Syria at the time. So a bunch of music from the 20s. It sounded really horrible. Quality is really, really bad. But imagine, we still have these recordings from the 20s, maybe even from the 30s and 40s that we flipped. And we were able to create a bulk of the Little Syria show's music, in that short week. And then just further develop it as time went on. And the more time that we got together, the more time we were able to spend, piecing it all together.
Cool.
But it was really special. We were able to go to UM's incredible state of the art, so we would make a bunch of the songs and the beats at the Airbnb, and then during the day go to the studio at UM, which absolutely stunning studio.
Yeah.
Right? Like every single microphone that you could possibly think of, from dating back to God knows what. We had a microphone from the 40s just in the room, just capturing the room's energy. And so that was a really, really cool, beautiful experience.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But where the show was and where it is now is a completely different experience. We just sold out 2 shows in Chicago last month. And we've got 4 more in New York City at Joe's Pub.
Yeah. Shout out to Joe's Pub.
Yeah, man. July 15th and 16th. Pull up.
That's amazing. Okay. I want to play one more song from my side.
Sure. Yeah.
Speaking of Gibran and, so this song's called Ancestors. It's also up on your YouTube. I want to play a little bit and then you can tell us a little bit about it.
Perfect.
Here we go.
Whenever I come to the fountain to drink, I find the living water itself thirsty.
انت مش بتقول انك دكتور؟
أيوة صحيح. Have I spoken this day of aught else? Is not religion all deeds and all
That is crazy.
Is not religion all deeds and all reflection? Yeah.
Man, that the tempo changes, the vibe changes. Man, that's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's a special one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, you're
Daoud.
vibing out to it.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it in so long. It's like a gentle little reminder. Don't forget where you came from. It's really beautiful. Thank you for pulling that one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I was listening to it and I was wondering, like, do you feel connected to a bunch of artists in the region right now who are working in the region right now? Do you feel like you are sort of tapped into artists who would have the similar sort of sonic style as you? Or do you really feel like there's like an ocean between you guys and you feel that ocean?
I feel like, well, I love what's going on in the region. And I feel like there's a shift happening, right? Sorry, it might be a little loud. I really like what's going on in the region. I see a shift happening and I see that there's like a pivot in sound, especially. And I love what a lot of artists are doing, but I feel that because I'm not there in person, there's this like, how the hell do we work together? Right. how can we make something together? Because there's always it's one thing to like send beats, right? I've got thousands of beats I can send out, but when you're in the room together and you're producing for somebody and with somebody from scratch, it's a completely different energy and it's a completely different vibe. And I really believe this song is called Ancestors, right? So I really believe like when we create music, we have our ancestors with us, literally, like in the room, helping pull that music from within, from generation. Like this stuff is just coming. It's really a spiritual act to create music, right? And not just to create, but to play music too, and when you do it amongst other people, it's like all of our ancestors are there in that room. So there's something spiritual to that, man. And the way that we create these days where it's like, oh, just send me some beats and, just go through, here's an email of like 20 beats and just listen to them. And it loses that connection. And so that's where I have trouble, like connecting with people, with anybody really. It doesn't matter if they're over there or over here too. It's just in doing it in person is way more special and I think way more productive. But then there's people that feel what I do so deep that hit me up and they're just like, yo, send me anything. And are able to create incredible pieces out of it without us being there together.
Well, I really hope you start collaborating with more artists from the region as well, just because I'm such a fan of your work. I just want to hear more of it.
Thanks. Me too. Absolutely. I mean, and I have a lot of work with a lot of people from that isn't released yet, or, it will be released soon, but,
okay. Well, inshallah.
Yeah, I want to come out, inshallah. I want to come out and do like a residency out in Beirut or something for like a month, man, and just link up with everybody.
1,000%.
That would be incredible.
You can do a residency andi. I was spare bedroom waiting for you.
Don't let me look into flights, man.
Don't even think twice.
Yeah, I would really love to, man. Last time I was in Beirut was so special. It was my first time and last time, and it was amazing.
All right. Well, that offer is for sure on the table anytime you want.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Full disclosure to the audience, I felt like I needed to ask permission from you to talk about this next song. Okay.
Oh yeah.
This next song was an MP3 that got passed around like wildfire.
Wow.
Around like 2001, is that right?
No, this was it was 05. 05 was when we made it.
Okay. So I'm going to play this song, and there are going to be, in particular, boys of a certain age, men of a certain age that remember this song and have no idea that your teenage self was behind it. All right. So I'm not even going to say what the song is. I'm just going to play it and then we're going to talk about it.
Oh my God. Let's go.
You're now rocking with Muhammad Abu Hafiz Halal.
Thanks.
يلا أنا بحب اللحمة كتير whether it's there or here for the لحمة I drive an hour because لحمة gives me power chilling eating shish kebab I even eat it at my job people say you want some lunch only في لحمة you put the chicken in my mouth put it always in the south you don't know what you're doing I love the chicken hooey أيوة وينك هي هي أيوة حبيبي يلا تعال ولك you're now rocking تعرف مع مين؟ مصطفى شباز الشكري When I have no لحمة I feel like I'm gonna die If you give me لحمة I feel like I can fly لحمة is the best creation in the universe If لحمة not existing I would just curse لحمة has the greatest smell لحمة now at your front door. Lahme, 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 lahme.
Okay.
Lahme, 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 lahme.
This is the re-released version, mixed,
Oh my
remixed,
God.
and mastered.
Yeah,
Because
this is the halal version.
this is the
for
halal
kids.
version. All the curses are replaced by animal sounds.
Yes. I had to do it for the kids. You know, I got somebody, a good friend of mine hit me up and was like, yo, you gotta, you know, the kids love it, but you gotta do something about that. And so
you got to tell me the story of how you made this, when you made this, and what it felt like for it to go viral.
Okay, absolutely. These are all great questions. First of all, shout out to my brother Faras Shrudu and his brother, his actual brother, Tariq Shrudu. To my best friends growing up in Orlando, Florida, Palestinian cats, that live not too far down the road from me. Hilarious dudes. Faraz hit me up one day. Faraz, by the way, is an incredible DJ at the time. That's why we linked up through mutual friends, but he was an incredible DJ that was like, you know, this was pre-Serato. So he was digging in the crates, you know, doing mashups on actual vinyl. So he would do like, you know,
Amazing.
take a beat and vocals from vinyl and mash them together. It's really, really dope. I recorded his first mashup album. And we were just rolling together all the time. And so he hit me up one day and was like, Joe, listen, I got a song. I have an idea for a song about Lahme. I'm coming over. I'm 17 at the time, in high school.
I have
I'm
an
like,
idea about Lahme. A song about Lahme.
I'm like, all right, pull up. So he comes over with Thought and he had the like bones of the beat already at his crib. Like I had downloaded Fruity Loops for him at his computer at his crib. And he comes over and he just like remembers the pattern. He plugs it in really quickly. And I look at him, I'm like thinking in my head, why are we doing this? When I hear the beat, I'm like, what is happening? And so they start writing the song, and I still have the book somewhere with the actual lyrics of the Lahme Song.
Feel like I'm going to die.
Literally, like written out. And they start writing this, and so I start working on the beat as they're writing, and just kind of like I add the little flute, I add some more drums, I arrange it, I you know, produce the song, right? And then I record them, and I'm dying at this point, just dying of laughter. It was this was in my bed. This was in my bedroom at my parents' house. Just cracking up the entire time. Second verse comes on, Thought It gets on there and does the second verse, and I'm just literally the cursor. I was like looking back at. He was like right here, just cursing. I'm just like trying so hard not to laugh. And we knew we had something hilarious, and so we put it up on my MySpace and his MySpace. And this was before MySpace had a music player. And so you had to like do some code. This was when MySpace was teaching our generation coding, where you literally have to go in and put the code into your edit page so that when you go to my MySpace page, the song would automatically play without you having to do anything. And every time you would refresh, the song would just restart.
Yeah.
From there, I don't know how, but it went from my MySpace page and or Varas's MySpace page to the world. Next thing you know, these two guys put up a music video. They're two guys from UCLA at the time, put up a music video to the song, and somebody sent it to us. And we were like, what the heck just happened? This is 2005, maybe 2006. And at the time, there was no streaming. There was nothing. We just got, we were still in Kazaa era. We were still in LimeWire era. This is like
this is LimeWire.
This was like the wild west of, you know, the music industry. The music industry didn't even know what the hell's going on. And some kids that are 18, you know, for us, maybe it was like 20, 21 at the time. 17, 18 years old, you know, we didn't have resources to do anything. So we hit them up on YouTube, and we were just like, "Yo, give us our credit." So they gave us our credit. They didn't even give me my credit. They just said they gave the brothers the credit, which was great and all fine. And then from there, that's it. It just kind of, the song got tainted for us because we knew how massive it got, and we just couldn't get a grip on it until 2020.
That's crazy.
When 2020 changed everything because I searched it on Spotify, and I saw that somebody had uploaded to Spotify, and that's when I was like,
"This is not gonna work."
Oh hell no! This ain't gonna work. No. Not at this point. My wife was an entertainment attorney. I'm way too deep into this music thing to let something like this slide. And so I took everything down. I took all the YouTube videos down and everything, and we just were able to re-release it and, put it out. So now if you search Thanks Joey on Spotify or the Lahme Brothers, you're gonna run into the released version, the official release version of the Lahme Song.
Oh, it's so funny. I'm sure that on my old laptop, I'm 100% sure I have that MP3 on my old laptop.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's great. That's amazing. I'd have to play some of the remixes I have to it.
Really? Do you have some?
I haven't released. I've got some remixes.
All right, let's hear remixes. Let's hear them.
Oh man. Okay, here. What do we got?
Thanks.
We got to get this to the clubs, man. Imagine just dropping this at a room. Exclusive. Because Lahme gives me power.
I even eat it at my job. People say
and so on and so forth.
Man, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I could imagine you opening festivals with that.
One day.
Man, that's fantastic. All right. I'm going to wrap up with a quick Q&A. There's two quick Q&A that I want to ask you.
Cool.
The first one is, or I'll ask you three of them. First one is, what have you been listening to these days?
Tyler, the Creator. My son is 2 years old, and he's the biggest Tyler, the Creator fan.
Amazing.
It's since his birth. He's got, he's turning 2 next month, and his next birthday party is Igor themed. If you're familiar with the Igor album, Tyler wears a blonde wig, and so we ordered a bunch of blonde wigs and glasses for everybody, and we're all going to be Igor for his birthday.
That's
really strange, but that's what we've been listening to at the house.
Yeah. Tyler is amazing. Second question is, who would you love to shadow for a day, past or present?
Wow. I would love to shadow Jay-Z, man.
What era Jay-Z?
That's a great question. I would probably want to shadow him, like pre-Black Album. I would, when he's doing the Blueprint. That's when I would want to shadow him. Because he's in the studio working with early Kanye West, Just Blaze, and I would want to be around him and those cats and really see some of those incredible songs that shaped my life come into fruition.
Did you watch Genius?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Oh man, you gotta watch it.
I know.
Oh man. That's the closest you're gonna come to shadowing him.
I know. I started watching it. I just haven't gotten to the point of like fully committing and watching it. I'm gonna meet Ye one day. Yeah. Just being in LA, because he's like constantly just walking around LA. And so I know one day I'm just gonna bump into
you really would love it, just as like a piece of art and filmmaking. It's an incredible document. It's really interesting to watch.
Thank you for the reminder. You're not the only person that's told me I need to watch it. I need to actually do it.
All right, last question is what artist from the past would be your dream collaborator?
Ooh, man. Dream collaborator. Jeez. I would love to do a record with, oh man, there's too many. I can't even pick. I always default to Jay-Z, but as a musician, probably maybe either Tom Jobim, Antonio Carlos Jobim.
Yeah.
Or Abdul Halim Hafid.
Nice.
Those are either one of those would be incredible.
Those are your OGs.
That's the OGs. Yeah.
All right. If anyone listening wants to connect with Thanks Joey, it's Thanks Joey on everything. And that's THANKSJOEY.
Yes.
Man, thank you so much for doing this. I am, as you know, a huge fan of you and your work. And
thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. So much fun connecting with you, talking to you, and being able to like break down these records and talk about all of this stuff has been
to
awesome.
Be continued, so either in New York or in Beirut.
Absolutely. Yalla, let's go. Absolutely. Yo, come out July, Little Syria show.
Yeah, gotta happen.
15th and 16th. Would love to see you there.
All right, man.
And if not, then I'll catch you in Beirut.
For sure. Thank you, everyone listening, and talk to you guys soon.